I'd love to be able to date a little girl in a dress like that. They should legalize that. Our mission is to legalize it, and a lot of other guys kind of like that too. So yeah, they should. Our mission is to make it so is to change the laws and change the rules of society so guys can do that.
Hello, my fellow concerned friends. Happy Wednesday. How are you guys doing today? How has your week been? My week's been pretty good. I actually don't know that because I'm filming that on Sunday, but I'm manifesting it, right? It is thankfully very sunny today, so if I'm like squinting a lot, that's why. The sun is like right there. Oh, and I just realized why I'm squinting. My husband's truck is like parked up on a hill and the sun's reflection is actually shining right into my eyeballs. I feel like they're like watering. Would you guys be upset with me if I just filmed like this and then for dramatic effect I can like... This video is meant to spread awareness on how predators work and operate and what their goals are. And I just want to give a huge disclaimer and a huge trigger warning that this video will be triggering, especially to those affected by SA and child SA. So please take care of yourself first. And I also want to add that I will be making a follow-up video to this / a part 2, as since I recorded this video, I have received a lot more information on the person in particular that we are discussing in this video. But all that to say, please take care of yourself, trigger warning, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Today's concerning topic is brought to you by a user on TikTok named GalioDNXIX, who left this comment on a video of another survivor who I am friends with on TikTok. And every single time I get a comment like this on my own posts, or I see it on a fellow survivor's posts, you best believe I am going to highlight it. You know, they wanted attention. Let's give them the attention that they wanted, because this is unfortunately not rage bait. And now when I posted that same TikTok that I made to my YouTube shorts, man, some of y'all tried to roast me, even coming for my lip ring. Like, guys, it's 2025. I promise you, like, take like a good long look at my face. You can probably find something better to make fun of me for than the fact that I chose to put holes in my face. Which, speaking of the holes in my face, guys, I lost like the top to my nose ring. And I don't know what I'm gonna do until I can go back to my piercer and just like get a new one. Anyway, but I got comment after comment of, oh, is this your first time on the internet? Is this your first introduction to rage bait? This is rage bait, rage bait, rage bait. All kinds of comments saying the same thing, rage bait. And I completely like understand why people think that this is rage bait, because like we've all been there, right? We've all tried to be that edgy 12-year-old and stuff. And, you know, I definitely, as a 12-year-old, said very, very dumb things online. I don't know why my car is making that noise, but I guess we're gonna wait for it to stop. All right. I was definitely that edgy 12-year-old online, and I would say dumb things. I would go into the chat rooms. I would say dumb things. Like, we've all been there. But even if it is just an edgy 12, 13-year-old, it still needs to be taken seriously, because oftentimes it's not an edgy 12, 13-year-old. And particularly in this case, it was not. I don't just look at these comments and take them to heart and then highlight them and leave it at that. I'm always trying to be very adamant about going to the account and trying to learn more about this person, because going to the account can really tell you a lot. Oftentimes, if it's a kid, you can tell it's a kid from their account. But a lot of times, and in particular in this instance, this is not a child. I went to this man's account, and his entire account is advocating for the age of consent, the legal age of consent, to be lowered to 6 years old for any non-penetrative sexual activity, and 9 years old for penetrative sexual activity. And the reason I make such a big deal out of one comment, one person, one post is because it is not one comment, one person, one post. This is a group belief. There is actually, believe it or not, a group of people in the world who do believe that children and adults should be able to and absolutely can have consensual sex. I absolutely agree. And it gets worse. This is from that same account. And trigger warning, because it gets extra worse. So buckle in and grab a snack, because you're about to listen to an incel yap about how he and all men have the right to have intercourse with any woman of any age, no matter the circumstance, because that is their right. And I hope somebody figures out what his actual identity is and notifies the FBI, Homeland Security as well. And I will have the ways to do that at the end of this video. Trigger warning, this is a hard listen and a hard watch.
Hi, this is Galileo2333. Here's a TikTok page of an enemy organization in Australia. Actually, it's probably a worldwide organization, but yeah, this group needs to be attacked and destroyed. Everybody down there in Australia, attack that group and destroy everybody involved in this and put them out of operation. Yeah, it's called What Were You Wearing, or WWYW is the acronym, and it gives us a tour of all the clothes that people were wearing, mostly women, but it's also men. The whole, male offender charade thing. And it's mostly women, clothes that they were wearing when they were sexually assaulted by guys. And it doesn't matter what a girl's wearing. A guy deserves to be able to interact with a girl and have sex with a girl. And there's a really big, and this is a special alert for this, is there's a really big effort here, it looks like, to ban white guys from being able to have sex with black women or Aboriginal women. There's a huge thing. They're saying that Aboriginal women are getting exploited by white men. They're trying to ban white guys being able to have Aboriginal women. So yeah, Australia, the government needs to be destroyed. Australia is a really huge regime state, and their government. They were, as I've talked about before, they're one of the most repressive restrictive regimes in the world, and the legalized brothels in Australia, where I can hire a commercial sex worker. I've talked about how that works. That's a controlled environment where where a guy gets to have sex with a commercial sex worker under with Me Too regime rules. So let's look at some of these what were you wearing stuff. I've made some comments here. Right now I am on TikTok. I have an account here, and I'm going. It's probably not long before I get banned. But yeah, anyway, while I'm here, actually they're talking about banning TikTok again in the United States. Look at this. This little girl here, she was wearing what was she wearing? She was wearing the Sweet Dreams little T-shirt. A little, that's cute. A guy should have a little girl. Adult man should be able to have a little girlfriend. And this is their dad, it looks like. So, inbreeding, that's not good. But for an adult man to have a relationship with and touch a little girl, yeah, that'd be perfect. I think having a little girl on a date with that, adult man should be able to do that. SA, trigger warning, SA kind of stuff. They all those trigger warnings, and we're going to trigger them. We're going to destroy these people, and we're going to put these people out of operation so the guys can safely interact with girls and women and not be subject to interference and not be subject to consequence and not be labeled a criminal because we aggressively proposition a girl or woman. That should be good. There's a whole bunch of schoolgirl uniforms. This is, what's this one? Primary school uniform. Yeah, maintenance worker. Yeah, they should introduce them. The school janitor, probably good. Yeah. And they, schoolgirl uniforms, they're showing the shirts. They're not showing little schoolgirl skirts. That's another common thing. Maybe they show a few of those, but most of the time when there's school uniforms on here, it looks like they're showing the shirts, but not the skirts or the shorts. Yeah, they probably have those little schoolgirl skirts. Yeah, that's perfect. Guys should be able to do those little girls. Guys should be able to have a relationship with those little girls. Adult man, the janitor, school janitor should be able to start a relationship with her and have that interaction, and it should be perfectly fine. This person here, whoever this is probably the leader. She's in maybe she needs to be completely put out of operation, completely put out of power, made so she cannot get guys' ability to get the girlfriends. Here's another dress. Let's look at this one. This is a let's see. Well, it's a dress. She was out clubbing with her friends on Saturday in sparkly short dress. Typically, the guy took advantage of a girl. Guy met a girl and had sex with her, and that should be perfectly fine. There's all this stuff here, and there's what else? Let me find. Yeah, the indigenous. This is the Aboriginal. This is one. They don't want white guys to have sex with Aboriginal girls anymore. So this I think something they actually about a cop having a relationship with her, but probably white cop. They should legalize. The white guys should greatly increase our pursuit of Aboriginal and indigenous women in Australia and indigenous women in every part of the world. To declare that we're not going to comply with the state telling us we can't get those girls. So yeah, Torres Strait. That's really good. That's a lot of kind of destination. Yeah, they should legalize that stuff. Here's a bunch of other. A lot of real little girl children, stuff. Like I say, I don't support father, father. That's inbreeding and incest. That should still be bad. That's actually one thing with Nathan Larson. Nathan Larson, I think, supports, to some extent, supports incest. So that's why I don't really agree with Nathan Larson on a lot of stuff, even though I consider Nathan Larson to be one of the biggest heroes that the movement has ever had. Well, anyway, there's all this other stuff here. There's all this, all this agenda. This entire organization here needs to be stopped. And our mission, we're gonna have to counteract them. We're gonna have to get huge numbers of guys and counteract and attack and destroy this organization. and I guess 10 years old, wearing a little pink dress, and the movie on the front. Yeah, I guess it looks like I don't know, that might be Elsa? I don't know. Yeah, it didn't wasn't until she was 18 that she realized, somebody touching her, was not okay. Well, whoever did that to her is a problem. The person that said that it was not okay, that's the criminal. That's the That's the one that needs to be stopped. It's perfectly good for an adult man to have a little girl like that. That's a cute little dress. I'd love to be able to date a little girl in a dress like that. They should legalize that. Our mission is to legalize it, and a lot of other guys kind of like that too. So yeah, they should. Our mission is to make it so is to change the laws and change the rules society so guys can do that. And it's good. There's a whole bunch more. It's probably this might not even be the only presentation I do on this thing. There's a lot of stuff that kind of tour to look at. Anyway, I'm probably going to try to look. I'm going to try to upload this video onto my TikTok. See how quickly it gets banned. I might get a few hits, but I'm definitely going to put it up everywhere else. On my other platforms, and usually stays up. Actually, lately YouTube's been pretty good. In terms of YouTube, I've not been getting banned from YouTube. I have a little YouTube channel. Although I'm barely getting any views. I'm not getting banned. I'm not getting suspended from YouTube so far. It probably going to happen now that I'm talking about it. Yeah, I think it's, but the thing about YouTube is the comments are completely non-functional nowadays. It seems like whenever I try to leave a comment on a video, it's like the comment section, it's like the auto censorship is completely, obstructed everything. I think it's maybe a few stuff, still gets through, but the comment section is on YouTube nowadays is basically just completely non-functional. Well, anyway, guys should be able to, there's all this stuff and, all these different things that the girls are wearing when the guys had interaction with her. And it doesn't matter what she's wearing. Guys should be able to have her with the girl. And that should be perfectly good, no matter what she's wearing or what she's not wearing. Anyway, this is, more coming up soon. Yeah, once again, this is WWYW, an enemy organization needs to be attacked and destroyed. That's what our mission is. I'm calling everybody in Australia, all the guys in Australia to attack this group and destroy them wherever else in the world they appear. This is Gallery 2033 signing out.
One of the biggest ways that she did this
And this is not a new thing. Organizations like this have been around since as early as the 70s and probably even earlier than that. For instance, in 1971, a man named William started an organization called Childhood Sensuality Circle. And that organization was around until about the 80s. Probably more notable than CSC is NAMBLA, which was founded in 1978. NAMBLA is a North American Man-Boy Love Association. And although they don't have any official buildings or any official meeting places, they are still present today. NAMBLA was actually the largest group in the International Pedophile and Child Emancipation and International Pedophile activist group. Some other notable actual organizations that we had in America that were pro-pedophile and pro-adult and child sex was Project Truth and the Renee Guyon Society. And yes, there are pedophile organizations and activist groups in countries all over the world. But here's the thing is no matter where in the world these people who think this way are, they don't need these organization labels anymore. They don't need to meet at these buildings where they're protected and safe from the outsiders and they can, have their conversations and talk about the things that they want to change in the world privately, because the internet is just that now. They have Reddit, they have Telegram, they have Discord, and they even have things like TikTok and YouTube and even blogs. They no longer have to lie to their family about where they're going and go to this secret building and have these meetings in private, because they can have these meetings in the comfort of their own home, sitting across the table from their grandmother, or even on a first date with you on their phone. And as you can see, they are not just fighting to have the right to harm children in private chats on Discord, Telegram, or even on Reddit. They're actually coming to YouTube to share these ideologies. They are coming to TikTok to share these ideologies because so many people don't take it seriously. So many people say it's rage bait. So many people will say this is just satire. It's obvious. Like, this is such an obvious thing that is so obviously wrong that we're not going to take this seriously. But what so many people fail to remember is that this isn't new. We have had CSC, we've had NAMBLA, as well as many others that I did not mention and name or go over. And so maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, bringing attention to it is only, bringing attention to it. Isn't that what we don't want to do? We want these people to like scurry away and be pushed into the darkest corner of the internet. And to that I say no. This behavior needs to be taken seriously, whether it was posted as rage bait by a 12-year-old, or in this case, it was posted seriously by a full-grown man who wants to have with children. Adults need to be held to the fullest extent of the law, which, in America doesn't really seem to be that much, as we'll get into later. Whenever you just brush behavior on the internet like this off as just rage bait or satire or just like a waste of your time, something that you don't need to expend your energy on, you are unintentionally furthering their agenda. Because the thing is when they spread these messages online, they don't need, nor are they looking for you to change your mind and agree with them. They're simply just looking for other people who do think like them. And all they need from you is for you to not take it seriously, for you to not get in the way, for you to not report their account to the FBI or Homeland Security. What they need from you is for you to still believe that child sexual abuse is just something that happens to other people and not something that could happen to me or my nieces and nephews or my kids or my kids' friend. And I don't mean to possibly scare people when I say this, but it is so vitally important that we realize how pressing of an issue this is and how genuinely terrifying it is that these predators feel so comfortable coming in a public online space and declaring these beliefs without any fear of any sort of retaliation or accountability being had. So here are some statistics from RAINN, which is the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. I absolutely love RAINN. If you can, donate to RAINN. Always donate to RAINN. They help survivors in so many different ways. Child sexual abuse is a widespread problem. Every 9 minutes, Child Protective Services substantiates or finds evidence for a claim of child sexual abuse. 1 in 9 girls and 1 in 20 boys under the age of 18 experience sexual abuse or assault. 82% of all victims under 18 are female. Females ages 16 to 19 are 4 times more likely than the general population to be victims of rape, attempted or sexual assault. And the effects of child abuse can be long-lasting and affect the victim's mental health. I can attest to that. And victims are more likely than non-victims to experience the following mental challenges: about 4 times more likely to develop symptoms of drug abuse, about 4 times more likely to experience PTSD as adults, and about 3 times more likely to experience a major depressive episode as adults. Child sexual abuse is serious. Child sexual abuse damages the brain, and I want to talk a lot more about what child sexual abuse can look like, because unfortunately I think so many of us think it only counts as child sexual abuse if it was penetrative rape, and I am here to tell you that that is not true. Child sexual abuse, like most everything else, is a spectrum. And now, yes, rape absolutely does fall on that spectrum, but there are other forms of child sexual abuse, forms that involve things like low contact or even no contact. No contact child sexual abuse can look like sextortion. It can look like an adult soliciting a minor for sex or photos. It could be an adult showing the minor explicit content, explicit photos. Low contact child sexual abuse could involve things like inappropriate touching and hugging and kissing. And obviously it just goes up and up and up from there. But we need to remember that all of these other things that a lot of adults brush off as not serious or maybe it was an accident are still child sexual abuse. My stepdad smacking my butt and groping my body was still sexual abuse, even if his excuse is that's just what families did. My stepdad making me delete photos of his penis off of his phone in front of him was still child sexual abuse, even if he did not touch me in that moment. My stepfather asking my permission to make child sexual abuse material with him was still child sexual abuse, even if he did not force me to do it in that moment. My stepfather filming me and my friends without my knowledge and doing who knows what with that content is still child abuse. And all of these things do cause lifelong trauma for these victims. And oftentimes, whenever we're looking at these statistics of these children who are being harmed, we're thinking about the amount of children who are harmed. But I want you to stop for a second and think about behind every child that was harmed, there was an adult that harmed them. And where are they now? Well, as always, Rain's always coming through with these statistics. So we see here that the vast majority of perpetrators will not go to jail or prison. Out of every 1,000 sexual assaults, 975 perpetrators will walk free. 1 in 9 girls and 1 in 20 boys will face child sexual abuse before they turn 18 years old. And out of every 1,000 sexual assaults, 975 of those who committed those crimes will walk free. And those 975 people are the same people that you say are just rage baiting. Those are the same people that sit on the juries for child sexual abuse cases. Those are the people who get to make the decision on whether or not another perpetrator walks free. Because we are not taking the behavior seriously. If we want to keep kids safe, if we want victims to receive justice, it starts with us not tolerating this kind of satire. It starts with us not tolerating this kind of rage bait, because children being harmed are not the butt of the joke, and they never should be. Children are the most vulnerable and marginalized group of people on this earth. Children are the number one group of people on this earth who need our protection more than anybody else, and oftentimes they can't speak up for themselves. They can't defend themselves, and they oftentimes don't realize that in situations like this, they may be being groomed. I can personally attest to the fact that I myself definitely had older boyfriends when I absolutely should not have. And as a child, I genuinely believed that there was nothing wrong with it. Those 975 get to walk free, and they get to find each other. And they get to find community and support with each other. Rage bait would be me making a video saying I'm making authentic Mexican food and then literally making white people tacos at home. That would be something that you could brush off and just say, ignore her. She's literally just trying to make people mad. That would be acceptable. This isn't rage bait. This is not something that we ignore. Ignoring the problem further victimizes children, and it doesn't let them get justice. This is not intended to make people mad just to make people mad. That's not the intention of these people at all. Their intention is to find other people who genuinely believe the same that they do. Their intention is to advocate for something that they actually believe in. They do not believe that this is wrong. So it can't be rage bait because they don't believe it's wrong. They genuinely believe that this is normal and okay. And those of us who don't want to have sex with children and who know that having sex with children is harming them, we are the weird ones. We are the ones with a twisted mind. We are the ones who aren't thinking right. And that is why we take it seriously. That is why we bring attention to it. That is why we report it. We report it to TikTok. You report it if you see it on YouTube. You report it to NCMEC. You report it to the FBI. And in some cases, if you have to, like I did with this dude, you report it to Homeland Security because he's sitting here telling people to go like tear down an organization that, brings awareness to sexual assault survivors in Australia, all the way here from the US. These people have a mission, and their mission is to harm children. Their mission is that they want permission to be able to use children in whatever way, shape, or form that they want. And as long as we make them feel like they are comfortable enough to casually discuss these beliefs out in the open without any fear of being investigated or looked into any further, then those children will just continue to be harmed. But I fear that oftentimes what you guys think is rage bait is not rage bait. Is it absurd? Yeah. So to the normal person, it would look like rage bait, but it's not. And those of us who have been harmed by this way of thinking know just how real this is. And it takes all of us taking it seriously to actually be able to start seeing a change in the system and start seeing that number go from 975 to 0. Because if you have committed a crime against another person's body, you should not ever be able to just walk free and live your life like you did nothing. If you see content or accounts that are advocating for raping children and being in a sexual relationship with children, please do not ignore those accounts, no matter how rage baity you think they might be. Please report those accounts to the social media that you saw them on, as well as to the FBI. Even if you think nothing will come out of it, it's better than ignoring it. But as always, thank you guys for hanging out with me. It's a beautiful day. You guys hear the birds. I love sitting out here because of all the birds. And also a couple of you guys on my last video asked for a space buns tutorial. So I will post that and I'll film it and then I'll post that on my TikTok. So be looking out for that. And my next video, I'm planning on going back to insane parents, toxic parents. We'll kind of bounce around and just see some absurd parenting and talk about it again. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe. Turn on the bell so you're notified every single time I post. And I just really appreciate you guys being here, listening to me, and helping me spread awareness on something that affects, unfortunately, so many of us. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. This is a lunch that I made for my kids recently because I suck at making lunches for kids, guys, because I was that kid where I didn't really eat growing up except for dinner because, you know, who has time to feed kids, you know? Who has time to like make kids breakfast and lunch? Definitely not my parents. I just got this like cookbook, idea book, inspiration book called Feeding Littles Lunches, and everything on this plate came from that book, inspired from that book, and my kids ate it up. Anyway, have a great week and I'll see you on Saturday with some toxic parents.